Welcome to Playfully Orange, our conversations about arts and culture here in Central Florida. Today, my guest is Joe Harrington. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, good to be here.
Well, Joe, you are involved in some arts activities that the public are invited to. But before we get to that, let's find out a little bit about you. Um, where did you come from?
So I did most of my growing up in central Massachusetts, just a little bit west of Boston, and it's actually there through college and graduate school. Um, Moved around to a couple of jobs and came down here in 2006 for a job at UCF.
All right. And you are leading the area's contra dancing, right?
That's right. So Contra Dance is a very old, over 400-year-old folk dance, which we have modernized over the decades and even recently. So now we do it to pop and rock music. It's done traditionally to Irish and Scottish and French Canadian and Appalachian folk music, fiddle music, which it's still danced to very actively in the area. So we've been trying to bring it more of it here to Central Florida and more frequently.
Well, how did you get involved with contra dance?
I think I got involved the way most people get involved, which is that a friend dragged me kicking and screaming to a contra dance, and I loved it. I said, I don't know how to dance. I'm clumsy. I stumble. I step on people's feet. And they said, shut up and get in the car. And so I went to that with them to a dance that was actually in Natick, Massachusetts, near where I grew up. And it was an absolute blast. And I didn't have to lead or follow. People told me what to do, where to go, and yet there's enough time in the dance for people who are very advanced dancers to throw in extra moves and twirls. So it's one of the few dances where a rank beginner and an expert can dance right next to each other and still be pretty happy about it.
And so that was fun, and you decided that that's what you're gonna keep doing through the years.
I did. I mean, I'm now to the point where I will get on an airplane and fly away for a weekend of contra dancing 4 or 5 times a year. Where there are people flying in from all over who are really fanatics about it. But I'm also a regular attendee at local dances where there's lots of people who are just starting out. It's a wonderful community building dance. It's not a formal dance like a waltz or a tango or something like that. It's much more, you dance with everybody in the whole room in every dance in contra dancing, and yet you also are dancing with a partner whom you keep through the whole dance.
Well, we really should pull up some contra dancing to show people what it is. Do you have any video handy?
I do. So if you look on our website, we have a video of UCF students doing it 90 minutes into their first dance. And on that same website, there's a What's Contra page that has half a dozen videos on it of different dances in different places. We have
And has there been a good contra dance community here since you got here?
So the dancing in Florida is a little different from the dancing in other places I've danced. It varies a great deal from place to place. It's popular on the East Coast, a little bit on the West Coast, a couple of cities in the middle as well. A lot of colleges have a contra dance, and different communities dance it a little bit differently, prefer a little bit different. Do they want their music to go faster or slower? Do they dance to traditional or modern music? And what I saw here was a dance that was very well suited for for an older crowd, and they very much were into it. But it didn't have as much energy as some of the dances I had been used to going to, which were sort of aimed toward a younger crowd. And so I've tried to build a dance here for the students at UCF and others who want to dance at that tempo, that style of music. It's open to everybody. We dance on Fridays, and the second and fourth Friday of each month, we are in Orlando at a place called the Zebra Room. And that's just a small dance hall, sort of between the two airports and a little bit west. and that's open to everybody. And then we dance on campus first, third, and fifth Fridays when there is a fifth Friday, and that's really for students and under 30s. And they don't have to be UCF students; they can be anywhere.
So I can't come to those because I'm over 30.
And other than leading the dances, neither can I. that's really by the choice of the students. That's trying. If a freshman or a freshwoman walks into a dance filled with people as old as their parents and grandparents, they tend to not stay, not even to try it out. So we learned that the hard way. If we want to attract, students early in their career at UCF, we really need to give them something that they're used to thinking of as a dance. And after they've been a few times, then they go to a downtown dance and they say, "Oh, this is pretty fun. This is a community dance." They're more thinking of dancing as a romantic thing when they first start out, and it takes a little bit of experience with it to realize that it's actually fun to dance with people of all ages. Most of the dances I've been to around the country, you will see a wide range of ages. I've danced with people as young as 8 and as old as probably their mid 80s. It's a different dance between dancing with an 8-year-old, dancing with a 15-year-old, dancing with a 30-year-old, dancing with a 60-year-old, dancing with an 80-year-old. You dance differently to adjust to your partner's capabilities and preferences.
And has it caught on well at UCF?
We've got a pretty steady group of about 20 students. It really took off this semester. We get about 20 students who come every time, and so we've now had 4 or 5, I guess 5 on-campus events, and they're well attended and they're bringing new people. So it's a new group, but getting quite a bit stronger. With each week we have a bigger group of regulars.
And have you found some people that just take to it and are fancy, dancy kind of dancers?
Everybody learns at a different pace, and we absolutely have our share of people who are really picking it up very quickly. There's a bunch of ballroom dance students who came. They, of course, already have a little bit of dance experience, so they had a leg up on it. But even a few people who came and it was their first dance have really taken to it. I actually like it for the other end of the spectrum. When I first started dancing, I was a really clumsy person. People said, don't trip on those stairs and watch where you put your other foot. And through dancing and a few other things, I learned coordination very well in just a couple of years. So, here's hope to all the clumsy nerds out there. This was really life-changing in, things like just basic balance and coordination and things like that.
Have you branched out into other forms of dancing?
So most contra dances will do a little bit of waltzing. There's usually sort of about hour and a half and then a break and then another hour or so of dancing, maybe another hour and a half. And so before the break and before the very end, we typically throw in a waltz. So a lot of contra dancers are also good waltzers. I've thought, since our format is a little bit more modern in terms of the music, that we might throw in some swing or blues. And of course, this club is a contra club, but we're very closely connected with the ballroom dance club on campus, and so there's quite a bit of traffic between the two groups in terms of attendance.
And is it like there's a caller? If you don't know it, how do you learn?
Yeah, so it is a called dance. In fact, this is the dance family that square dancing grew out of. When settlers went out onto the prairie, white settlers went out onto the prairie, they took contra and its cousin English country dancing with them. But the communities, in many cases, were too small to do full-scale contra dances. So they invented square dancing, which only requires 8 people. And that's now got a life of its own. There's an active square dance community in the area as well.
Well, you've given us history and some culture, some arts. You mentioned your website. What is your website?
So we are Contra Knights, and of course that's Knights with a K because we're in Orlando. ContraKnights.org, and you'll see a video there right on the front, which is 90 minutes into the first dance that nearly all those students had done. And then there's some other examples on the What's Contra page, and always our next dance, all the details are right there on the front page, so our social media and so forth.
Nice.
There's another interesting historical point, which is that dance calling was actually an invention of African American slaves. They used to be the musicians at contra dances that were held. It was a little bit more of an aristocratic activity back then, and they would take these dances back to their communities, but they didn't have the book of dances and they didn't know how to read, and so the musicians memorized the dances and called them to their communities, and that was the invention of dance calling. And of course, a lot of the music is also very strongly influenced and contributed to by those African American musicians.
And your contra dancers, your contra club, is it pretty diverse or is it pretty much the white folks?
Um, it's a mix. We have, you know, I see people of color, but I don't necessarily identify exactly where they're from. Um, but we do have, UCF is a pretty diverse university. We're a Hispanic serving institution. There's lots of African American students and many others there as well. And so, yeah, we do roughly match the cross section of UCF students. And of course, uh, that's really, it's really a recruiting kind of thing. If you want diversity in your group, you've got to make it attractive to people, and people tend to bring their friends, and so it's really important for us as a young group, as a group early in its development, to keep that in mind and to keep going out and asking everybody to come, and not just people who are in the majority group.
Great. Well, thank you, Joe, for bringing participatory arts dancing to us. And it's great to talk to you today.
Thanks, it's been a pleasure.
And thank you all for watching this issue of Playfully Orange.